Yobachi 2007 back at you with another one. Now, I did my video the other day, as we see here, on the comparisons of the killings and the suspected Idaho house killer to Ted Bundy and his killing at the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. And I'm delving back into this general topic again based on the affidavit that's come out today. It's the affidavit of arrest for the suspect now that he's back in Idaho. And I wanted to listen to a little bit of this from the Law and Crime Network, and we're going to then respond not or comment on what we hear. This is going to be very interesting, not even just interesting, but pretty shocking about what we hear in regards to the surviving roommates. But let's listen.
About the two surviving roommates that were on the ground floor in that house. According to the probable cause affidavit, I'm going to read it for everybody. DM, who is one of the surviving victims, she said, DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door. DM locked herself in her room after seeing the male. DM did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. Now later.
Whoa. This is an amazing discovery or an amazing revelation. So, of course, I mean, I know this guy's about to follow up with that amazing revelation that at 4:25 in the morning, that part's not in this clip, that this happened between 4 to 4:25 in the morning. All of what this roommate on the bottom floor of the three-floor house, if you're not familiar, two of the women were killed on the third floor. A female and a male were killed in a room on the second floor, and there were two more females on the first floor who went unharmed and unattacked. And this is one of them. We now find out that this happened at 4 something in the morning. They always thought it happened overnight, but the police were not called until 11 a.m., even though she witnessed the killer leaving the home dressed as a burglar in all black and face covered in a mask. And she heard before that happened whimpering and crying. And we also hear later that there's a thud that is picked up on a camera from the house next to theirs. So what does she do? She locks her door and goes back into the room and doesn't call the police until 7 hours later. So I know he's going to just go straight in on that. Let's see.
Later on in this probable cause affidavit, when they were able to determine that it might have been Koberger, they looked at his license plate and noted the bushy eyebrows.
He's talking about bushy eyebrows on a driver's license, not a license plate. Did he not just hear what he read and came out of his own mouth? That one of the surviving roommates heard the killings happening and saw the killer walk past her out of the house at 4 something in the morning and did not go and check on her roommates, nor call police or ambulance services or do anything for another 7 hours later. This is amazing. This is astonishing. This is inexplicable. It deserves an explanation or an attempt at one, or even to even address it. He just buries the lead and starts talking about bushy eyebrows.
The idea that someone in this house saw him is unbelievable. What's your reaction, Sonny?
Yes, what's your reaction? It's absolutely unbelievable. I'm just printing out the affidavit right now and trying to go through it, right before we went on the air. This is one of the most detailed affidavits that I have ever seen, and this is the reason why they got the guy. There's nothing to suggest that he was not present. They have the DNA.
Here we go. her point of contention, isn't this absolute incredible bombshell that you had an eyewitness in the house who knew that this had happened, that something had happened at 4 in the morning and did nothing until 11 in the morning. And she's like, her point of contention and astonishment is it's so detailed. The affidavit is so detailed. Yeah, that's the point, lady. That's the main point here. The details of the affidavit. Let's keep going. So this is another program. We're going to comment here after we listen to this.
One of the questions people are asking is, why didn't she call the police after she saw him?
And this is what I want to get to. I mean, I'm thinking maybe I'm crazy because it feels like it's a conspiracy of the media to ignore this issue. Because what happened was in the morning when this came out, this is what all the media did with that first clip. Just ignored that whole factor that this person witnessed these killings, heard them, and then saw the killer, and then did nothing for 7 hours. Just didn't even address it. Later in the days, it started to be brought up as we see here, but this is what we get in most cases. Let's see what we get from this, because maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's not a media conspiracy to try to brush this aside. Let's see the response to the question being asked about this.
Instead, she ran into her room and hid, and then did it the day after. What can be explained here?
You know, we can't really tell what motivates people in a moment, especially one of great fear, to act in the manner that they did.
In a moment? You're talking about the very moment she saw the killer, her freezing or going back into the room and hiding at that moment and dealing with the rush of emotions, adrenaline, fear. Okay, that's fine. That's reasonable. 7 hours. She heard her friends getting killed and saw the killer fleeing the house at 4 to 4:25 in the morning and did not call anybody to do anything about it until after 11. She got up the next morning and brushed her teeth and went about her day while the bodies were upstairs rotting. They may have even been still alive. Back to the video I did earlier that I showed at the beginning of this one, in the Chi Omega House killing where Ted Bundy bludgeoned the women, he smashed them over the head and broke their jawlines and all this. He killed 2 of them. He was in a room where 2 of them shared a room. He was working on the second 2. He bashed both of their heads in, and then he was going to kill them too. But one of the other roommates came home. Headlights from the car flashed into the room he was in. That spooked him to leave. When he was leaving, that roommate, the one who was coming in, saw him going out of the other door, and she wouldn't look at her like you would automatically expect, went and checked on her roommates, and then called police and ambulance right away. And those 2 women who he was about to kill, who he bashed their heads in, but they weren't dead yet, they survived. They're still living to this day. I know at least one of them, if not both of them, got married and had children. And no, they were still disfigured and scarred and had some problems for the rest of their lives, but they went on to live their lives. That could have happened here. She knew as soon as they got stabbed, she could have called the ambulance and had a chance for them to be saved. At least one, if not multiples of her roommates might have still been savable. She let them bleed out for 7 hours. And the media's not even addressing it, or when they do address it, they're making excuses about what you would do in a moment. It was 7 hours, lady. What are you talking about? This is insane. In another report I was watching, I couldn't find it again because I didn't write it down. I didn't capture it at the time when I saw it. One of the people were on there. It was actually this lady in a different report was on there talking about well, we don't know what could have happened with her and what she might have been thinking and feeling all that time, and we have to just basically making excuses for her. What I get from this is, it's like they're trying to protect her, because to me, she needs to either be investigated for being part of the crime, i.e., she is the one who let the suspected killer in and was in on it with him. And then after the fact, things went wrong and didn't go the way they wanted. And she's now weaving a poor, contrived story where she admits some things that she heard and saw so she can give witness to it, but didn't do anything about it because she really was in on it and wanted them to die. Or she has to at least take accountability for why she let her roommates bleed out and die and let their bodies sit and rot upstairs for 7 hours while she knew something probably had happened and someone was leaving the house. I don't know. Maybe she somehow thought that this was a friend or boyfriend of one of theirs and it wasn't a big deal and nothing really happened, even though she opened the door 3 times because she kept hearing weird noises and thought she heard crying. And also, they said at one point that she thought she heard them say, one of her roommates say, one of the female roommates was crying, and then she heard a male voice saying, "I'm here to help you." She didn't find that strange. She didn't, after she was scared enough to go back in her room and lock her door, she didn't feel the need to walk upstairs and just make sure everything was okay. There is something very off about this. I don't know what it is. I'm not accusing the young lady per se of doing anything in particular at all, but this
I
this
don't think
deserves to be investigated or thought about or at least discussed and addressed. I mean, it's made there's something really wrong and is really off about this. I hope we can hear more about why she didn't act more quickly and do something. Hit us with a like and subscribe here, and we'll continue to bring you this type of content as need be. And you can come back in and check us out again. Yobachi 2007. I'm out. Peace.